Welcome back, everybody. Time for some more Hearts of Iron 4, End of a New Beginning. And where we last left off, we had pretty well conquered all of the what is now the United States. We still got to deal with Utah, and there's some national focuses we can do to deal with that. This episode, though, is primarily going to be centered around the invasion of and conquest of Mexico. So we'll see how far we get once that is done, assuming that goes fairly well, which I think it ought to. We ought to be able to move on from there and see what else we can accomplish. So the invasion of Mexico is going to be interesting because there's basically no infrastructure along my border with Mexico. It's zero in a lot of these territories. And because of that, we're going to have a very hard time getting supplies to pour through here. In fact, even though I've ordered all of my available divisions to the border, you can see a lot of them haven't moved. And the reason they haven't moved is because of a lack of supply. You can see all of these units are suffering from attrition and are not at full strength, and they can't move because they don't have the supply to be able to move. So we get to upgrade to the new Springfield rifles. And we're pretty well upgraded. Oh, we're going to get our first machine guns pretty soon. That'll be cool. I think August is the month where we get to launch the invasion of Mexico, so let's go ahead and see how far we've got to go for that. August 21st, so it's coming up here in 3 days, so we'll go ahead and just let this happen. Do I still have another? I do have some more research to do first. Camouflage principles. That'd be a unique thing to have. Alright. We are ready to launch this war. War on Mexico it is. We're not going to call our allies. Our only allies, Utah. I'm curious to see what the manpower is for Mexico. Somewhere between 50 and 80,000 men. So this is not going to take long, I don't think, even with bad supply. So we did lose a little political stability. We dropped from 2 to 1 doing that. But supplies notwithstanding, this should be a fairly winnable war. You can see we've only lost 200 men, already inflicted 4,000 casualties. That's kind of how this is going to go the whole time. Just made it into October of 1867. We're having a little trouble kind of on this area here. The rest of it's going pretty well, and we're actually well on our way toward Mexico City at this point. I don't know what's going on there. That's just the way it was showing up on the map. Casualties are mounting up. 14,000 on our side, 27,000 for the Mexicans. But, you know, we've got almost 600,000 in fielded manpower. We've got them outnumbered probably a good 10 to 1. This is just a matter of the supply issues slowing me down. All right, we're getting some Mexican divisions. We had some encircled in here and just got them destroyed. So this is going pretty well. I would guess by the end of 1867, we should have this thing won. 18,000 casualties, 73,000 now for the Mexicans. So it's just kind of going to be it's going to just snowball from here, and they'll just break apart before too long. While I'm finishing off Mexico, I have to start thinking ahead to what's next, and I'm not ready to take on Canada yet, because Canada, the different parts of Canada are still dominions of the United Kingdom, and as long as that's the case, I'm not quite ready to go to war with the UK yet, but I am going to start justifying war goals against some of these Central American colonies, countries, work our way down towards South America. Our goal is to control all of the Western Hemisphere, I would say by 1890, if possible. So we're also continuing to work toward getting Utah on our radar screen here to get an opportunity to be able to finally absorb Utah. Right now, they're still a colony, so I'm not sure if there's anything I can do about that or not. All right, December 17th, just in time for Christmas, we're on the verge of taking Mexico City, and it looks like it's about to fall. It's just a matter of marching in. I don't know if that'll be enough to finish Mexico off, or if we're going to need to move a little further down the Yucatan Peninsula here to actually win this war. Here's where things stand on Christmas Eve. 23,000 lost for my side, 100,000 casualties for the Mexicans, and that's just about going to do it. And it looks like Mexico City was enough to get it done. So let's go ahead and take all states of Mexico. It's going to be interesting because the more territory we take, the more difficult it's going to be to kind of manage and suppress the folks who are not happy about things, because we're going to have more divisions to be able to garrison. You can see our population's up to 37 million now, and that moves us up to the number 2 power in the world. I don't know if there's a way we can see the rankings, but I would guess it's got to be somebody in Europe. I don't know if it would be the United Kingdom still, or if it could be Russia or Germany. And speaking of Germany, let's take a look, because we're getting pretty close to where they should be kind of finishing off, merging into Germany. So it hasn't happened yet, though. So somebody correctly pointed out on one of the previous episodes that the system for garrisoning and putting down revolt and things of that nature, sabotage and stuff, has changed. You no longer need to assign garrison troops. You just need to kind of meet certain requirements, like having enough equipment, which I think I have, or very nearly so. I need 1 cannon, which we'll probably deal with pretty soon here. So that's good news. And I'm just looking here at the occupied territory screen to kind of see what it is. You can see here the garrison units that are needed in various areas. So I'm not entirely sure how all that works yet, but we have certain modifiers when compliance goes to a certain level. So here's civilian oversight is what we're using right now, and you can change all of those things, and those give certain bonuses, certain assistance. Right now I think we'll just stay at the default of civilian oversight. Here's our compliance map, which kind of shows how much of the population is currently compliant and basically kind of has accepted American rule over them. Obviously, it's still around 67% in the defeated South. It's much lower in Mexico right now, but that will change with time. Can't expect Mexico to be okay with suddenly having new overlordship from the United States. So there's the Pacify Utah national focus completed. I don't know that there's really... The Cavoti Committee is the only thing we have left, and I don't know that this will do anything to... Okay, Utah bends the knee. Resolution in the Utah War. Excellent. Okay, that's finally been dealt with. So really, honestly, there's no reason to even do this national focus here. It just gives me a little bit of bonus to legislative power, but I've got a ton of that already. So let's continue the rebuild phase of things. Oh, yeah, it's going to make me finish that one. Okay, that's fine. Now we have an option to grant statehood to Utah, which I'll gladly do. Doesn't make a whole big difference, but we also have this option to patrol the streets, which we're going to do again here very soon, and these gain Reconstruction points for me. The main goal here, of course, is to continue to pacify the conquered territories as we start to build up for an invasion of Guatemala, and then I'm going to start thinking about doing the same with Honduras. So let's go ahead and start justifying that war goal, and we're just going to make our way down through Central America. Let's take a look, speaking of, at resistance. You can see it's not as bad as it was, but we've still got a long way to go. What about compliance? How does that look? There we go. Compliance is climbing very slowly. It's still about the same in the defeated South. It's climbing really slowly there too. So we just invented dynamite. Now, historically, the man who was credited with the invention of dynamite was Alfred Nobel, who was horrified to discover that his invention could be gasp used for other than peaceful means, which is why he ended up devoting himself to honoring peace through the Nobel Peace Prize and some of those other prizes. So offer of guarantee independence was accepted by the United States of Venezuela. I don't recall offering them a guarantee of independence unless that was something that was done through the Monroe Doctrine. I may come back to regret that a little bit. In fact, is there a way we can just kind of withdraw that now? Revoke guarantee. Yes, please. I didn't really want to offer it in the first place. One more option here. Grant statehood to Colorado is now an option as we get into July 1868. Glad to do that. We're going to keep choosing patrol the streets because it's going to keep helping me put down the KKK. Let's take a look again at compliance and see where it's at now. You can see it's climbing up now in Mexico. We're up to 17% in some of the northern states. We're approaching 70 in the defeated South. And, of course, Colorado, not so good right now, but we're going to get that up there. Right now it's 10% in the western part of the state. This part has actually now been granted statehood, so there's really no compliance to worry about there. So as we've kind of got a bit of a lull as we prepare to invade Guatemala, I thought it'd be cool to kind of look at the focus trees for some of the other nations that I could play down the road. For example, the North German Confederation, which of course is mainly Prussia. You can see they've got the Prussian economy focus tree here, which has all kinds of things you can do to improve the economy, including steel and arsenals and things of that nature, developing cities, factories in Berlin. You've got the General von Moltke tree, which focuses on the military and the Navy, specifically there. You've got foreign politics, Europe, policy toward Britain, policy toward France. We've got stuff to do with internal politics here. You can dissolve parliament. There's a lot of other things. You've got colonial focus tree options here. You've got the North German Confederation here, Reichstag of the Confederation, and the temporary Reichstag. There's just a lot of really cool options here. Down here, the king's abdication, the rise of socialism in Germany. You've got liberal government over on this side. So really just they've put a ton of work into these focus trees, and there's just so much you can do there. So this is interesting. We have Alabama claims. It looks like it isn't fully fleshed out yet, but there were a lot of foreign policy issues happening between the United States and the United Kingdom in the aftermath of the Civil War, because the United States, especially people like, I think it was Charles Sumner, were demanding, basically, at one point the demand was that they were saying, it all revolved around the USS, or the CSS Alabama, which was a Confederate commerce raider that had been built in a port in England, I believe. And so the United States was suing for reparations for the damage caused by that ship that had been built in a British port. At one point, the demands were, they actually claimed that the war was extended by 2 years because of what the Alabama did. And because of that, they said that the British owed the United States for the entire cost of the war after 1863. Now, they never did that. President Grant was able to resolve the issue without it going that far, and I think the British did promise to pay some reparations. I don't know all the details of all of that. I wish I knew it better, but that's basically what was going on with that. All right, we've got Guatemala ready for conquest, so let's go ahead and do that. And this won't take long, obviously. It hurt my political stability to declare war. That's not unexpected, I suppose. But, I mean, really, Guatemala's got 10 to 27,000 men. So a few days should be enough to finish this one off. And then we'll take a look at a few other focus trees while we're dealing with all of this. So just like that, we've pretty well wiped out the Guatemalan army. They're down to 3,000 to 6,000 men. And that's it. So the trouble with trying to declare war too fast, we got the election of 1868. We can choose between the Republican Ulysses S. Grant or Democrat Horatio Seymour. Yeah, we're going to go with Grant. Send congratulations to Grant. Does that mean he's no longer a general? Because he's still showing up as one of my generals here. I suppose that's probably not something they would think to deal with. Yeah, so the problem with declaring war or justifying wars too fast is that you can't really stack them without it taking a long time. You can see here it takes 803 days to do an additional justification on top of the one that you're already doing. So it actually makes more sense at this point for me to cancel that and start it over again, because now it's only going to take 413 days. KKK intimidation of voters. Send in the troops. Our hands are tied. No, we're sending in the troops. We are putting that down as quickly as we can. So you can see resistance now. It's pretty well gone. Let me go back to that again. Resistance is 0 in the south, 0 in the west. It's very low in most of Mexico at this point. Even Guatemala is only 3%. So there's not a lot of resistance right now. We do have to pick another national focus. We're just continuing the rebuilding, which is going to add infrastructure to the various parts of the South. Let's go ahead and look at another focus tree. Let's check out the United Kingdom. So let's see what theirs has to offer. You can see the Industrial Revolution. A lot of, kind of generic industry things, but then of course here we have British industry specifically, develop the British Isles, the telegraph, public works projects. So a lot of internal things, address political economic matters, centralizing the economy or decentralizing, questions about Calais. So a lot of internal stuff there. Here's some stuff to do with the military. There's research over here, a bunch of military focus trees. Investigate the Viceroy of India, the Peel Commission, so stuff to do with foreign policy there. A lot of decisions here involving some of the overseas colonies. There's some election there. 1859. So each one of these is the different elections and some decisions involved with that. So pretty cool. Not nearly as fleshed out as the German one, but still very interesting. Still a lot there that could be explored. Justification against El Salvador has completed. We're just about to finish our last rebuild project. I'm surprised Lincoln hasn't switched over to Grant yet, because I think that happened in March back then was when the new president was sworn in. I would guess we're going to see that probably pretty soon here. All right, so let's go ahead and declare on El Salvador. Wait, what? Oh, that was not El Salvador. That was... We're working on Honduras. We just finished El Salvador. Okay, that's why it was taking so long for a third one, because I already had two going. All right, we're not even going to issue any kind of orders here. We're just going to say march in. So now that El Salvador is done, we've still got how long on Honduras? I think better part of a year. Oh, we're freezing up here. I don't know why. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of time left until that one happens. So let's go ahead and start on Nicaragua. $463 days, that's fine. And we're about to finish off El Salvador. There we go. Oh, wait. No. Take all states. That's what I want. And we've still got Lincoln there. I'm not sure when Grant's going to take over, if that's just something that they haven't worked out yet. This is a work in progress still, this mod, so not everything is going to be completely kind of worked through yet. Violence of the KKK. Mississippi Governor William L. Sharkey has reported to us of the disorder, the lack of control, and the lawlessness that has become widespread within his state. He states that the former Confederate soldiers are using public violence against the black population and their allies, and have begun to burn houses and attack and murder innocent black people. He's pleading to the government for assistance. Absolutely. Send in the troops. Workers afraid to go to work. Violence caused by the KKK in one of our southern states has caused a factory to near bankruptcy. The workers have begun to refuse to attend work, claiming the KKK have sent threats to the factory and its workers. We could send troops to alleviate this, or we could subsidize the factory to keep it afloat. Nope, send in the troops. I've got plenty of legislative power to deal with stuff like that. We're working on the Navy here. We've got a long way to go before we start getting to things like cruisers. You go all the way up to the 1944 cruiser hull. Destroyers go up to only 1916 right now. I don't know that we have anything for battleships. There we go, dreadnoughts. So how do we get to dreadnoughts is the question. Let's look at everything we've got to do to get that far. So right now we've got to do early ironclad hull. I want to work my way toward dreadnoughts. So two things about to happen here. One of them is we are working on some early aerodynamic research, which is going to get our way down to where we can actually invent flight. We're also starting to readmit the southern states. So in doing that, you can see that we no longer have an issue where resistance is showing up. They become one of our cores once again. So these areas that show 0 are still areas where there's potential for resistance, and there's low stability. So once we add them as a core, they no longer have those issues. So we've got to add everybody else. We're going North Carolina, Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, Texas, South Carolina, Mississippi, and then end Reconstruction. Now, I'm told that when you do that, all of these current focus trees disappear. Now, I've gone through most of the ones that I want to. Some of these I can't do anyway. Like this one here only works if you choose John Bell before the Civil War. This one, of course, is Civil War tactics. There's really not a whole lot more for me to do anyhow. Confederate ghost superstitions. There are reports of those who had survived incidents with the KKK in which their attackers claimed to be the ghosts of Confederate soldiers. Although many freedmen have seen through this, there are some who have yet to receive an education that have fallen for it and become frightened. Invest further in freedmen's education, offer support. Yep, let's do that. Just going to continue to add to those Reconstruction points, and we're about to be able to invade Honduras. 29th of December, we'll be able to do that. And I think once we take Honduras, that'll probably be where we wrap up for today. Next episode, we'll finish our march south. We're waiting for Canada to get its independence from the UK, because I believe once that happens, then we can turn our armies toward Canada. Going to continue researching our Navy. We have no divisions in basic training because right now I'm just trying to build up a stockpile of equipment. And we'll take a look at some national focuses for some of the other nations. We'll look at France. We'll look at Russia. If there's any specific country you want to see the national focus for, use the comment section below and let me know that. And I will try to show that on the next episode. All right, there we go. There's the justification for conquering Honduras. Which that means now we'll go ahead and start justifying on Costa Rica. I'm not entirely sure Costa Rica was a country at this time. I thought it was still a part of Panama, but I could be wrong about that. Of course, Panama was part of Colombia at that time, so I don't remember for sure. Maybe San Jose, or maybe Costa Rica had declared their own independence by that point. I've been to Costa Rica. It's beautiful there. What are we declaring? We're declaring on Honduras. All right, General Meade, go. We've got 16 divisions. I don't know what we're facing in Honduras. We'll take a look and see. January 1st of 1870 is upon us. And we'll start. Oh, I hit the wrong button, I think. Yeah, I dropped my stability by accident instead of hitting the one that would actually raise it. All right, didn't even get to see what his army looked like because we... Oh, no, that was a different war. It's not letting me show the war with Honduras. All right, not a big deal. We'll just wait to take Tegucigalpa. I wonder if we... Oh, world tension's up to 38. That's because of all the wars that I've been declaring. Ecuador and Argentina are at war. Chile and Colombia are at war. Interesting. Yeah, it will not let me see that war for some reason. All right, well, while we're waiting for it to finish, let's go ahead and continue researching our land focus tree. All right, we'll take that. We'll continue our research on land focus. I don't know where we're at on some of these things. It looks like we're in 1870 now, so we can do that. So we'll wrap it up right there. 1870 is where we are. Let me know your thoughts about all of that, what you think I should do next, what you'd like to see as far as national focus, things like that. And we will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.